So last year was a dark time for cartoons, but surely everything will change for the better in 2023, right? It hasn't even been a month. There's a new dark trend of streaming services canceling shows, and beyond that, just completely removing them from their service completely and acting like they never existed. This is being done because if a show is not profitable, and a studio removes a viewer's access to it, then the studio can be charged less, or refunded for, I don't really know, but it helps them save money on taxes for the production costs that they spent on the series. Yes, it's always about money. It's always all about money. But there is one release format that a studio can never take away from you, and that's home video. Home video is something that many people are having renewed interest in because of all these tax write-offs and cancellations. Infinity Train is probably the strongest example of that. See, if you were sort of out of the loop, this extremely popular Cartoon Network series that was essentially used as a selling point to get HBO Max was used as a tax write-off, so they took it off HBO Max, and very temporarily they removed the digital soundtrack you could download, and also removed the ability to download and pay for digital episodes of this series. So the only way to watch it is this DVD, and for a little while there, these DVDs were sold out too, and were being scalped for a lot of money. I think they're readily available now for normal prices, and the digital downloads of the episodes are back up. But that's really only because this was so popular that they noticed there was backlash for taking it down. They put it back up for digital purchase and download, but it's still not on HBO Max, and it probably never will be. So, this is your best way to watch it, pretty much, because digital downloads are their own whole thing too that we can get into later. So in this video, I want to talk to you all about cartoons on home video, because it's something that's pretty important now, and it's just kind of cool. I've been collecting cartoons on DVD ever since I was a kid, and I wasn't necessarily collecting them on purpose. It's just when I was a kid, streaming didn't exist, and it was a little while before our house had an on-demand service either, so DVD was the best way for me to watch a show that I wanted to watch. Because usually stuff like Invader Zim, perfect example, just wasn't really on TV. This very rarely had reruns on Nicktoons, which was only a channel on our premium cable box that I didn't always have the opportunity to use. So having the DVDs, I was able to just watch it whenever I wanted, and on top of that, it has a bunch of bonus features that introduced me to the inner workings of animation and animation production and all that. So just because I got into the habit of collecting DVDs as a kid, I kind of just continued to do so forever. Not even because I want to preserve things, just because I always like doing it and it's cool. It's nice to have a big physical collection of things that I like. Recently I've been collecting these darn stupid things for pretty much the same reason. They're just really adorable representations of animes that I like. And I'm not really one to know much about video quality and audio configurations and stuff, so this is really just going to be a very straightforward, simple introduction to DVD formats. It might even kind of seem condescending the way I'm going to try to explain these things, but I think literally, especially because I can see the way that some of my viewers write their comments, a lot of people following this channel are probably really young, and they could have been growing up in an era where they've only watched streaming services and have very, very few DVDs, or have a few Blu-rays and don't even realize that Blu-rays are a different thing from a DVD. So I just want to be here to explain that sort of stuff and give a few tips on how to start collecting, the best places to buy and sales and stuff, but that's kind of enough of a topic for another video too. I recognize this is a really niche topic, but it's niche topics that I really want to start talking about more on the channel because it's the stuff I care about. As you can probably see from this video's length, you're probably thinking wow, this guy really wants to talk about it. And I do. So if you want to see me make more videos about this topic, just talking about individual DVD releases or talking a little more in depth about certain aspects of home video, please like this video and let me know in the comments, because I would love to do that, because I don't really think there's anyone else out there talking about cartoons on DVD. Now, something I'm not really going to talk about here because I want to focus on cartoons, but getting anime on DVD is also a very great, worthwhile investment. Specifically, I find that the video quality, if you're someone who cares about video quality, is really good on anime DVDs and Blu-rays. That's my biggest thing that makes me want to buy them, aside from the packaging and just having a physical thing from some obscure thing that I like. So if you're interested in an anime home video, let me know in the comments, because that could be a topic for a completely separate video. But I have a ton of anime DVDs, probably way more than I have cartoons. Now, like I just said, there's pretty much three major different formats for modern home video releases. There's plain DVDs, which this is what cartoons are put on most often. There's Blu-ray releases, and then very recently, I think this was only introduced in the past 3 or 4 years, is 4K Blu-rays, which is pretty much only reserved for animated movies. Now, a DVD is very, very old technology. A DVD is what PlayStation 2 games were built on, and the PlayStation 2 is like 20 years old or something now, so this is really old technology, but that means it's the cheapest for studios to put out. So when you're looking for cartoon series, you're pretty much only going to find them on DVDs, even if they are a series that is produced at HD quality like Infinity Train is. The main limitation of a DVD is that it can only hold a very small amount of information, and it can only display 480p quality, which probably doesn't really matter to most people, and that's probably why the studios do it that way. But you're just missing something when you know a show like this one is produced at 1080p quality, of HD quality, and you're not able to own a DVD with that quality. But I just say that most people probably won't care about that because, I know for a fact that most people just pirate everything. I personally don't, unless you totally 100% have to. And I feel like that's the circumstance for a lot of other people too. I mean, not only is using whatever website is new now, not only is that free, it's also just they have everything. But you're probably losing quality watching it that way. But people don't really care about that. They just want to see the content for the most part. Like, most people are probably watching things just on their tiny little phone screens now, and that's totally fine. And that's like just the way things are now. But I sort of grew up with DVDs with watching stuff on TV, so that's sort of what I'm more used to and what I try to continue going for. So basically what I'm trying to say is that even though DVDs are lower quality, I feel like that's not really a problem for people. It's really only a problem for people like me that are like super nerds about it. Especially like modern HD TVs, they probably upscale things. Like in a 2D animated, especially a TV show, isn't really going to be that noticeable of a difference if it goes into HD. I'll actually use Infinity Train and show a quick example of the visual difference, but it's probably going to be hard to even like tell because it's not only is it going to be in a video, but also just in general, I really don't think that many people will notice. But there is a difference, and to a nerd like me, it's an important one, but we just don't get cartoons in a format other than DVD pretty much, so we just kind of have to live with it. So here are some screenshots to compare the Infinity Train DVD and then full HD clips that Cartoon Network has posted online. It's kind of hard to do this so the frames don't match up like exactly, but you should get the idea of the difference in quality here. I played the Infinity Train DVD on my computer through VLC Player, which is a free media player app for computers that lets you play video files of any kind, audio files of any kind, and DVDs. So I put the Infinity Train DVD into my USB disk drive and just played it back and took screenshots of what I thought were pretty good example scenes. You can hopefully easily tell that the DVD quality is notably more blurry than what HD quality looks like. It kind of clearly looks like it was compressed down to be a lower file size on the DVD instead of looking as clean as it should. Especially around the edges of things, like when the color's about to change, that's where you can notice a lot of pixelization going on if you like really zoom in on the DVD screenshots. So this is what the visual difference between DVDs and Blu-rays is. Now for HD quality, that's what Blu-rays are for. And Blu-rays are a different disc technology. So they require a Blu-ray specific disc player. But if you have any modern console, pretty much PS3, PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, and I'm pretty sure all the Xbox Ones and the Xbox Series that take discs anyways, can play Blu-rays. So Blu-rays will have HD quality, and they'll look really nice. They'll look the way that the shows are pretty much intended to look, the way that they were produced and broadcasted. In some circumstances, there'll be a 4K release. That's pretty much only for movies, though, like I said, and that'll be just an even higher fidelity. But even then, like I was saying, well, I don't know how much people really care about that unless you're super into the scene. Now, Blu-ray discs can hold more data, meaning that like if they had a lot of bonus features or a lot of different commentary tracks, they could fit it all onto one disc. You'll find, especially older like Disney movies, if you get a DVD, they'll have a separate disc just for the behind the scenes stuff because they can't fit it on one disc. Or if you have a series on a disc, like Infinity Train's not that good of an example because Infinity Train's one disc because it's a very short series. But something like Zim, the complete series has 3 of these DVD cases, and then each of these cases has 2 discs in it. And then each disc here only has like 4 episodes on it. Whereas a Blu-ray of a TV show could probably fit like close to 15 episodes on one disc and at a higher quality as well. Another benefit to Blu-ray is that they basically always come as a combo pack, meaning that this one right here comes with the Blu-ray disc for HD playback on Blu-ray devices, and it also just comes with a normal DVD. So if you happen to only have a DVD player, you have a DVD in here. I don't believe this movie even has a separate DVD release. It might, but if you need a DVD, you could just buy this copy of it that comes with both. And pretty much, I think, like every single Blu-ray movie is like that. TV shows on Blu-ray will not come with the DVD though, because like I just said, they'd have to include like 4 DVDs to fit what one Blu-ray disc could. So you'd have a big box where there's one Blu-ray disc and then like 4 DVDs that, like, who's going to really use the DVDs? But they would rather just release the DVDs as a separate thing. Blu-rays also come with digital copies, which used to be a very, very, very confusing thing where every company had their own website that you had to put your code into. But now, from what I understand, there's just one website called Movies Anywhere. So inside of the Blu-ray box, there'll be a little paper slip that has a code. You make an account on Movies Anywhere, you put that code in, and you have access to a digital copy of your movie. Then you can link multiple video on demand services to your Movies Anywhere account, and they will sync. So say if you have an iPhone and you have an iTunes account, you can connect your iTunes account to your Movies Anywhere account, and then you can watch your movie on your phone. Or if you have a Vudu account, which is just a website that lets you buy digital movies, then you could open the Vudu app on your smart TV or also just on your phone or on your video game console, and all your movies will be there as well. But now a digital copy of a movie might be different from what people might assume. Like if you've never redeemed one before and you're used to watching things from unofficial sources, when you have a digital copy, it's sort of just giving you like an encrypted key to be able to watch something. I know that there's plenty of ways where you can just literally download a video file of the show onto your computer. And that's how, like I was saying, people watch things. But you're not legally supposed to do that. But, if you go that way, then you have the video file and then you can make edits and put in video editing software and all that sort of stuff. Whereas this sort of digital copy is tied to the app. And it's basically like telling the app that you have access to watch the movie. And on phones, I'm pretty sure every single one of those apps will let you download the movie to your phone, but you can only access the movie through the app on your phone. It doesn't become like a file on your phone that you can decrypt into a playable thing on your computer that you could put into video editing software. Because they want to do everything in their power to make sure people don't do that because of copyright law. Another thing about Blu-rays is that they're just sort of faster, especially older DVDs. They usually restrict you from like skipping the previews. Usually when you put a disc in, whether it's an old one or a new one, they'll have some trailers, and it's really funny when those trailers end up being really outdated. But usually you can't skip those. But I'm pretty sure on a Blu-ray you can always skip them because you can automatically open a menu that just gives you the option to play the movie. Whereas on a DVD, you might have to press the skip button a bunch of times or literally sit there and watch the trailers because the DVD is locked to prevent you from skipping anything. So that's really one of my favorite things about Blu-ray too, is that you can put it in, you gotta wait a few seconds for it to load, and then you just press play movie almost right away. Another cute thing about home video stuff is just the detail put into them. Like not just the packaging, like I was showing these packagings. Like this like, isn't that cute? I mean, it's not cute. It's like a sad moment in the show, but that's very creative of them to do this. Same with the Adventure Time ones that are like modeled after the characters' bodies and you're like ripping them apart as you open the disc. Like it's really, really just cool and creative and a fun novelty. And even just the creativity behind the user interface on DVDs is fun sometimes too. I find that movies, especially kind of older ones, like older DVD releases of movies, will have really fun, silly title screens with like sort of exclusive jokes in them or footage. Or sometimes they'll just have one looping clip from the movie that plays over and over and over again until you shut your TV off and it drives you insane and you remember it for the rest of your life. But I remember as a kid getting a new DVD, I'd be really excited to see what the menu was. Like, it's stupid. It sounds stupid, but hey, people had to sit down and think up what the menu should look like and choose the fonts and all that. Like that, there's effort there. There's a creative effort there. It's like a job that is probably completely uncredited and unknown to people, but it's a job and it's a creative thing. And I've always found that interesting. I'm always really interested in super niche creative things like that. Now the other format is 4K, which is pretty niche. I don't even know how much I should really talk about it because I don't know how much people are updated to, modern TVs and stuff that can play this sort of format. But basically, this is just currently the highest visual format that you can get. And it can store more data than a Blu-ray disc, but it's basically just a Blu-ray disc that will look even better on a TV if your TV handles 4K resolution. Other than that quality difference, they have HDR, which is a new type of color grading technology that just makes the colors pop out a lot more. It increases the contrast, so like if something is black in the movie, it'll look really black. It won't have like that tint of gray that sometimes things do. Or if there's a white, it'll be like pure white and you will go blind if there's like a scene where the whole screen goes white. This will require a 4K Blu-ray player, an Ultra HD Blu-ray player they might also be called. But if you have a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox Series X, those two game consoles can play 4K discs because that's also what their video games are built off of. The only other difference with 4K is that these don't come with a DVD. These are still combo packs, but they will only come with a 4K disc, a Blu-ray disc, which would be this for a Blu-ray player, and also always a digital copy. And this digital copy will be in 4K quality as well if you have a TV, again, that can run apps at 4K. Now, something weird, I think I've only seen one example, but my dad recently bought Top Gun Maverick, and that only came with a 4K disc and a digital code that did not have the Blu-ray. So they might be phasing out including Blu-rays with these for some reason. I really hope that they don't, because having an extra disc, whether or not you're going to end up using it, just adds value to this purchase. And these are stupidly expensive when they first come out. I'm pretty sure the average single movie on 4K the day it comes out will be $30, and that's just a lot, because if you wait enough, you can get these for much cheaper. You can get Blu-rays for much cheaper, and you could totally get DVDs for way cheaper too. But this Spider-Verse was actually my first 4K movie because I know that this movie looks so good and it has such a strong style and such strong color that I knew 4K would be the best looking way to watch it, because it would be, the truest to what they were going for with the visual fidelity. But like I was saying, Blu-rays are mostly only going to be for movies, which is pretty unfortunate because all modern cartoon shows are produced in HD quality as well. Pretty much the reason for that is probably two things. It's very, very cheap to print out a DVD, I would assume, because it's such old technology. And also, it just saves parents the trouble of having to understand the difference between formats, because a DVD can be played on anything that can play Blu-rays as well. And a lot of parents might not be familiar that Blu-ray is a different thing and stuff like that. So say if you had an Ultra HD Blu-ray player or a PlayStation 5, like I said, that can play a 4K disc, it can play a Blu-ray, and it can play DVDs. It's always backwards compatible because all it's doing is playing back a video file. It just has to read a certain type of disc to produce a different visual fidelity, but it can read, as far as I know, every single 4K Blu-ray player can also play regular Blu-rays and regular DVD. So that's a huge plus for consumers because it makes you not have to buy 3 different players. You just have one player that can play all 3 of these disc formats. And I guess aside from, this being really cheap for a studio to make, putting cartoon shows only on DVD just helps them, not have to have a parent be like, what's a Blu-ray? I thought it was a DVD, because parents are, for the most part, parents that are just going to buy a thing for a kid are not going to know what they're buying. So if they just buy a DVD, it should be playable on any device that they own. To most people, especially people that typically just watch stuff online, a DVD quality-wise really isn't going to look that bad to you at all. And I mean, even to me, it doesn't, especially for a 2D cartoon or a cartoon that was produced in HD that's scaled down. If that's your only way of watching it, you're not going to really have a problem watching it. It's just upsetting from a preservation standpoint. If all digital media, whether legal or illegal, is erased from the world somehow, and this DVD is the only way to watch Infinity Train, this is technically not the best way that Infinity Train could be visually conveyed because it is an HD series. So it's just frustrating that cartoon shows get stuck to this old DVD format when they could be on Blu-ray and look the way that they were produced at. There's even a weird example where recently, while airing reruns of Billy and Mandy, Cartoon Network aired an episode in HD and in widescreen. Older cartoons would be 4:3, meaning you'd have like black bars on the side. I'm sure you've noticed that. Probably not like consciously noticed that, but that's like a thing where you see black bars on the side and you could be like, oh, this is an older show. But as Cartoon Network aired a rerun of Billy and Mandy without those black bars and in HD quality. And that had never been released before. They just happened to air that one day because they have it like in their archives without really ever thinking that they had an HD episode. Like probably back when Billy and Mandy was coming out, HD TVs and HD TV channels weren't common, so any episode that was produced to HD was just probably formatted down to be 480p. But this means that Cartoon Network Studios, there's probably a few complete seasons of Billy and Mandy that are in full HD, and they're never ever going to release those to people. Like, it's very unlikely that they'll be like, oh, here's a Billy and Mandy Blu-ray with like all the, not even upscaled episodes, just the episodes produced at the quality they were at. And that's really weird. Like that, it's not necessarily lost media because you can still watch the episode, but there's a way to watch that episode at an even better quality. And they're just never really going to put that out unless they accidentally do another rerun like that. It's really weird. Like, it's a really niche thing that only I care about, but when I saw a Twitter post about that, I was really surprised. So many shows are produced at HD, but they're not releasing them in that format for those reasons I just explained. But there's just a lot of confusing situations. Like Adventure Time, for example, is a full HD show, and its release in terms of formats is really confusing. So lucky for us, Adventure Time has been released in full on DVD. It has home video releases for every single episode of the show, and once the show ended, they even made a box set that just had all the discs in it. But before that, they were releasing individual ones with just set seasons. And up until season 5, I believe, they were releasing both DVDs and Blu-rays for those seasons. I only happen to own the DVD copies because back when these were releasing, I didn't have a Blu-ray player I could use. But then for the remaining seasons of Adventure Time in America, they only put out DVDs. They stopped putting out Blu-rays. And even that complete series box set is only DVDs. But in other countries, or I think Europe specifically, they only made Blu-rays. I don't know if they even made DVDs, but they have the whole show on Blu-ray. They have their own box set too that comes with every disc and their Blu-rays, but not here. So that's another thing to keep in mind, is like different countries have different releases. It's uneasily confusing, and some releases can't be played on players from other countries. That's a whole other topic, basically. Just using Adventure Time as an example, I believe seasons 7 and 8 in America were released as one like DVD box, but in Europe, every single season has its own disc release. So like you see how this is modeled after Finn, and it's a really fun, creative box art. Europe had more individual releases, meaning that they have discs that like are designed after Peppermint Butler and Lemon Grab, and maybe one other character, but those are the only ones I have in my memory. And America just doesn't have those packaging. I don't think the packaging on those is like as detailed as these American ones, where like it's all totally designed to be like the character. But still, it's just so weird that they released it like in such a confusing way, where other countries got more discs than North America did. That sort of stuff happens a lot, and that's like a whole other thing we could talk about if people are interested. So yeah, Cartoon Network's finicky about their DVD releases. Adult Swim, though, at least for Samurai Jack and for Rick and Morty, they've released Blu-ray versions. I only have the DVD version of I think I have one Rick and Morty Blu-ray, but I just have DVD versions of some seasons because I didn't have a Blu-ray player to use. And usually TV show releases don't come with digital copies, but I'm pretty sure every season of Rick and Morty on Blu-ray will come with digital copies for you to use on Movies Anywhere, which is pretty rare. Rick and Morty literally, I think, is the only series that I've seen that done with, especially for cartoons. But yeah, unfortunately, home video releases of modern cartoons are very all over the place. Like Regular Show, for example. Regular Show has a disc for season 1, a disc for season 2, and then no more ever. The movie is on DVD. There's maybe like random compilation DVDs that just have a handful of episodes from random seasons, but there's no complete series. There's no way to own all of Regular Show on DVD officially, which is ridiculous because the show literally wrote an in-universe explanation for why a Blu-ray box set for the show would exist, but they just never made one. But they made it for Adventure Time. I would think that Adventure Time probably is more profitable because it has merchandise and stuff, but I don't see why they wouldn't give Regular Show a complete set, but whatever. We just gotta live with that for the rest of forever. They did end up releasing a complete Steven Universe DVD set, which I don't own, but I know a lot of people love Steven Universe, so that's totally something to look into getting. It's a bit expensive, but it's a lot of content. It's the entire Steven Universe series, plus the movie, plus the future series. That's a good, huge amount of episodes and content for a modern cartoon home video release. Like, I'm honestly surprised they did that. But they didn't for Regular Show. And very recently, Cartoon Network put out complete series DVDs for Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends and Ed, Edd n Eddy, which both never had complete series releases on DVD before. And it's kind of random, but it seems like they did it to celebrate their anniversary. And I can only hope that they're just going to do that with even more stuff. But it's probably going to depend on the sales of those two DVDs, which is problematic because those two DVDs are like really expensive right now. And yes, they're complete series. They're full shows. They're, over 100 episodes each probably, but I forget how much they were. They were like $60 or more though, and that's a lot. But yeah, I really hope that they start putting out more stuff. If you're a fan of Nickelodeon, they've actually done a really good job of releasing a majority of their classic shows on DVD. I think they have them all. Like, I don't think Invader Zim has any DVDs that are in production anymore, but it seems very commonplace to find like complete series Jimmy Neutron, complete series Hey Arnold, complete series Rocco. I don't know if the Hey Arnold one comes with the two movies, though. You might have to get those separate. But even those are still readily available. So Nickelodeon is actually surprisingly pretty good with that. I think it's just their modern cartoons you would have to worry about, because they probably don't have complete season releases like at all. Loud House is the only one I even know of, really. But I would assume that it doesn't have a complete series release yet. And it's likely that it just maybe won't ever. Okay, so I talked about that stuff for probably way too long. But very briefly, let's also just talk about how to start buying DVDs and Blu-rays. What are the best ways to do that? From my perspective, as a North American person, it's going to be different from many other people, but the best places to go are either resellers or Best Buy. I find that Best Buy very, very often has sales. Recently, I've been noticing on their website when they do have a sale, like on their front page, they'll have a bunch of like little icons where it's categories that you can shop in. And there won't be a movies category. You'd have to look in like the TV category, and then on the sidebar you can select movies. It's weird. They're like hiding it. But they usually have really, really good deals on shows and stuff. It's probably more likely that you're going to find live action stuff, but I mean, you should be collecting that stuff too if you're interested in any of those series or movies. Obviously, there's other big stores like Walmart and Target that sell DVDs. I mean, every place sells home video stuff. But I just feel like they don't have sales as often as Best Buy does, and they don't have sales as good. And Best Buy, at least in my area, has really, really good store pickup. I don't know if it's because of COVID or what, but the store pickup that they've implemented is really, really seamless and pretty quick. And you could even use it for pre-orders, which no other retailer lets you do, which is very annoying. Because I don't want to have to walk into GameStop just one random day to ask to pre-order a game that's going to come out in like 7 months, where on Best Buy, I go on their website, I press pre-order, I press store pickup, and then they send me a text and say, oh, it's release day, your thing's at the store, come get it. And I just go one time. I don't have to awkwardly like tell them what game I want to buy and stuff like that. They'll just have it there for me. And then the other best place to buy is resellers. Unless like you might be someone who cares about the actual quality of your box. Like in that case, maybe you'd be wary about buying from resellers, but that's where you're going to get the actual best prices, because there's a lot of people that just want to get rid of this stuff, especially DVDs. In my area, we have a video store that's pretty much dedicated to reselling stuff that people trade in. And I'm sure other regions have their own versions of stores like that. So you should try your best to find one. And I mean, if you can't, then you just use, Best Buy, like I said, or you use eBay and Mercari. And maybe Facebook Marketplace. I don't really have much experience using that, though, and I don't think Facebook Marketplace ships things. I think it's more like Craigslist, and you have to go pick stuff up from people's houses. So, but Mercari and eBay will ship stuff out to you. And they'll usually have bids or accept offers, so it's very easy to get the lowest price possible for a lot of things. And they'll pretty much always have everything. Even if it's something rare and ends up being a little expensive, it'll be on eBay being sold by someone. Oh wait, how could I forget Amazon as well? Amazon is really good. They usually have pretty cheap prices. I think their standard price will always be cheaper than the retail stores. But even then, you should wait for those to go on sale and just have those shipped to you if you can. And it's even better if you have Amazon Prime and you get free shipping on that stuff. And they'll have a much larger catalog than the big retail stores too, because they will have a good amount of like older releases too that are just still in stock because nobody's buying them. Target pretty regularly has a buy two, get one free deal, but during that deal, they'll be charging full price for all the discs. And if you're especially going to look for 4K like movies, that's going to be like $30 each. So you're really not going to save that much money taking that approach. But when Target does have that deal, you can usually mix it with video games or books too. So you could like make out if you had a good variety of things you wanted to buy. But if you were just going to buy 3 DVDs from that sale, it's really not worth it. It's more worth it to wait for the prices to be cheaper at other locations or buying from a reseller. So yeah, there's plenty of tips I could give about buying stuff, but I just wanted to keep that brief for this video because this video is more about just talking why I think DVDs are so cool and why you should start buying them. We're seeing non-stop evidence that these shows can very easily be erased from digital distribution, and then there's no way to watch them legally or in really good, pristine quality. The best way to ensure that you own something forever in the best visual quality possible with extra content for behind the scenes and all that is DVDs. I have a lot more DVDs than these. These are just the ones I used as examples. So hopefully I was able to help teach you why I really enjoy DVDs and why I collect them and why now more than ever I think they're really important to collect. So if I sparked your interest, I hope you go hunt out even just for one that is like some show you're interested in. Like even Infinity Trade. Like people should probably buy the Infinity Trade one before it goes out of stock forever and people resell it for like $500. I should buy a second copy of it so that I can sell it for $500 later on. So thank you very much for watching. If you want more videos like this about like super niche home video things or just other really specific things related to cartoons, please let me know in the comments. Please leave a like rating. Subscribe to my channel if you're not already, because I talk about cartoon stuff all the time here. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you very much for watching.